Why is it so hard to know what to do next with your money? You have read books, you have followed different gurus and experts, you also listen to different podcasts, but still, when it comes time to actually do something with your money, you still feel like you're frozen and it's hard to really figure out what to do next. Hi, my name is Yulin Lee. As a money empowerment coach and a spiritual mentor, I have spent the last decade coaching women in midlife who are financially stable, but not yet financially empowered. And I have watched this freeze play out hundreds of times. So in this episode, I want to explore with you the real reason behind why is it so hard for women in particular to make money decisions and to take massive actions. And also what should I do? Maybe the wrong question to ask. And then at the end, I will also show you the 3 pillars for how to create long-term financial success. First, I want to talk about this concept of information trap. And it is a trap that a lot of us fall into, including myself. So here's a scenario, like every time we decide to learn something, we would go out and look for information, right? We would go on YouTube, watch videos like this. We would read, we would do all these different things because there's so much information available out there these days. But what happens is we end up getting into this loop of learning. And at some point we actually lost track and we don't know how to get out of it. And so we keep learning and then we feel like I still don't know enough. I still don't feel like I really get what's going on. So I need to keep learning. And at the beginning, learning is a great place to start because we do need the basic information. But at the same time, past a certain point, more information now becomes more noise. And every expert would offer you their knowledge, their opinion. But which one is right for you? Which one can you actually adopt and apply in your own life? I think this is where it's missing for a lot of people. And that's why it's so hard to make decisions. So I'll give you some specific examples, especially around money, right? So when it comes to personal finance, a lot of people, especially if you live in America, people tend to carry debt, right? So then you might hear people, one group of people that might say, yeah, you should pay off debt before you do anything. But then you hear other people in other camp that may say, well, yes, you need to pay off debt, but you don't need to wait until everything's paid off to do anything else. In fact, you should actually start learning how to invest, even with just a little bit as you're paying down the debt. Now, each camp may have different reasoning for that philosophy. So which one should you listen to? So that's an example of it can be confusing when you hear 2 different sides. Another example would be you hear people talk about invest in real estate as a way to build your financial freedom. And then you hear other people talk about how to invest in stock or maybe even crypto or maybe even gold, in today's market. Again, who do you listen to? Right? Another example could be, some people will tell you you should definitely hire a professional financial advisor to help you manage your money because they're the professional. They have the time. They can focus on investing your money. And then you hear other people that says it's not worth spending the money on their fees. You should learn how to do it on your own and do it yourself. Again, who should I listen to? Right? So there's a lot of these critical financial decisions that you need to make in your life. And if you keep learning for too long, you start to feel like I'm paralyzed. And your brain can start feel like, oh, I'm so confused now. But in reality, your brain is not confused. Your brain is just overloaded. And overload can feel like confusion, but they're 2 different things. And the fix for each of those are different as well. And so it is important to know where you stand and the state of being that you're currently in. Are you truly overloading your brain with information that you've collected? Or maybe you are truly confused because you haven't collected enough information or you haven't started collecting information or learning. Maybe you are at a point where you're like, I've never learned this. Nobody has taught me. And I don't know what I don't know. And therefore, I don't even know where to start. right? So if you're in that state, then maybe a lot of it is the confusion. But for a lot of people who have done the learning, done the study, and they still feel like they're paralyzed, then if you're in that group, then the problem is really not about confusion. The problem is about you're just having information overload. So how do you get unstuck? Well, first of all, we need to know that right now, we're not solving a money problem yet. Rather, we need to solve the identity problem first, because the question of what should I do is a strategy question. And strategy questions require an identity answer first. Right? Who are you deciding as? Is it the version of yourself who still need to prove something? Or is it the version of yourself knowing your own worth? You see, those two different versions of you would do completely different things and they would make different decisions. This is why the advice or tips that you're getting from external sources, they don't always stick because it's not clear who's actually receiving the information. And this is what I also call lost in translation, right? Information is being broadcasted by other people and the person who's receiving it, if we're not clear about who we are, what we truly want, then we don't know how to translate what we've learned, the information we've received, into specific actions for ourselves. And every person, every voice that you follow, they all have good intentions. The knowledge that they shared is based on their own lived experiences. But their experiences and their identity is not yours. And they don't know who you are. They don't know your life, your value, your season, your relationship to money. And without an anchor of who you truly are and what you truly want, you're just collecting information. You're just collecting opinion instead of building conviction. And conviction is what drives you to act. Now that we know why it's so hard to take action despite all the information we've been collecting, now I want to talk to you about the 3 pillars that I use in my coaching with my clients, and it's to help you build long-term financial success. And it's called the MAP framework, M-A-P. M stands for mindset. And mindset is the identity thing that I just talked about. It's about getting super clear and super honest with yourself about who is that person right now sitting inside of you making life decisions, because a money decision is a life decision as well. And here's a question for you. Are you leading your life based on fear? And you might say, well, I don't think so. I don't want to. But how do I know for sure? Well, here are some examples that shows you whether you're living based on fear or not. So the first example would be if you may have heard other people who have made money in certain investment. And so you think to yourself, you say, that looked great for them. I would love to do that. Maybe I should do that too. But then the next thought is, but what if I lose it? But what if I lose the money? I don't want to lose money. I don't know that now that I think about investing, I'm feeling like I don't want to lose money. It's kind of scary, right? So that first thought of what if I lose it? That's an indication that you are making your decisions based on fear. Another example, and I see this a lot in many women in midlife. They have been in a marriage for 20 plus years. They're unhappy. They're unfulfilled. And now the kids are grown. And they're really considering this idea of, should I stay in the marriage or should I go? And as you're thinking about this thought, the first thought that comes to my mind or comes to your mind is, but what if I leave him and then I can't find another partner? Or what if I leave him and then I won't be able to support myself financially? And if that is the guiding key question that's stopping you from taking any actions or making any decisions, then you know that you're leading your life based on fear. Okay. And so if you're leading a fear-based life, then you know intellectually that you won't be able to make any good strategic decisions. So then the next question is, how do you get out of that fear-based decision-making process? Well, remember this. The opposite of fear is faith. And so if you want to switch out of leading your life based on fear to leading your life based on faith, then you can ask yourself this question. What would my life look like if it was based on faith? What would I feel like if I led my life based on faith? Faith in myself, faith in the universe is there to support me. And when we talk about faith, at the end of the day, we're also talking about trust. How much do you trust yourself around money? How much do you trust yourself for making sound strategic decisions? And those are the little things that you can break it down to switch the state of being, into switching from a fear-based way of living your life, making your decision, to a faith-based way of living. Right. And so there's a lot more to the mindset work, but these are the key things I wanted to just share today. The second pillar to this framework is A, and that stands for alignment. And what that means is you want to make sure that you're aligning your identity, the identity that you had clarified through the mindset work, and to know who you truly are. And then from that, you want to also get clear on what do you really want, because you can't know what you really want until you know who you are. Right? But once you've determined this is the real person who I am, and based on that, then I want to design and decide what do I really want for my life. And once you're clear on that, then you can create the strategies based on who you are and what you want. So there's that perfect alignment if you follow that process. Okay, so that's step number 2. The third or second pillar. The third pillar is P, and that stands for practice. And the practice is all about taking small, repeatable actions. You're not waiting for the perfect plan. You're not waiting for the perfect timing. You are consistently taking small actions that move you in the direction that you want to go. And it is also that practice that's the feedback loop that help you build more trust and faith in yourself. So the sequence to these steps matters, right? You want to start with the mindset work first, and then you move to alignment and to practice. If you skip the mindset, then alignment collapses. And if you skip alignment, then the practice could feel like it's either forced or aimless, because you're just doing the work for the sake of doing work, for the sake of copying other people. You're not really doing critical things for yourself. But if you do them in the right sequence, then decision-making gets easier and simpler. Now that we know the real reason behind why it feels so hard to know what to do with your money, it's not because of not enough information, but more of maybe this lacking of a clear anchor of who you truly are and who's really asking this question. And once we see that, then you no longer will be looking for the right answer. What you will start doing is looking for the right aligned actions. Now, you might say, well, this sounds great. Intellectually, I understand it, but I still don't know how to build trust and faith in myself, because that has been something that's been missing for most of my life. And this is why I created the Money Confidence course. It is designed to help you build your confidence through building healthy money habits, elevating your self-image, surrounding yourself with right people who can keep you up, and becoming the right model for you. And it is also designed so that you can take this course at any point. You don't need to be further along. You don't need to have the right condition for this or that. It is designed for wherever you are right now. It can help you build your money confidence to help you step to the next level. So if that's something that you're interested in, then be sure to click the link in the description below. And I would also love to hear your feedback once you've taken the course, to let me know how you enjoy it. And also, if you have any comments, questions about the content of this video, please make sure you put that in the comment below, and I would love to have a conversation. And then I will see you in the next episode.